Warning: the views and beliefs in the following program does not reflect the views of Boom Broadcasting. We give full creative control to our creators and do not believe in cancel culture. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there. Long time no see. It is the man behind the mic, and I'm Michael Davis, and I'm obviously behind the mic today. This has been a crazy, crazy time, and I have to talk about it, right? So usually with our episodes, we talk about some really personal and heavy stuff, and there's been a lot to catch up on, if you will. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff going on that I can't necessarily talk about. Uh, and right now, obviously, it will be an episode at some point. It will be an episode, but there is a lot of stuff going on in my life behind the scenes, and this has obviously been a platform that would allow me to talk about those things. And so, with that said, as long as certain things happen, I get to talk about those here in the weeks to come. But I want to definitely make sure I had an episode today. Excuse me, I still am trying to get my voice back. If you've noticed on Out of Pocket, kind of coughing uncontrollably at some points, and medicating through cough drops or hydrating, whatever. I feel great, by the way. I feel fine. It's just my voice has had a rough couple weeks. Real reason why we haven't had Saturday shows for Man Behind the Mic here recently, because I mean I'm wiped out by this day in the week, through all the other podcasts, through my work, through all this other stuff I'm doing. My voice is like shot. So I'm very, very thankful that I had a voice today. So we get to talk about this, and it's been a time, but I didn't want to focus on so much of the negatives going on right now. And I will give them their own episode. I will give them their own time and be vulnerable with you guys. But I want to be vulnerable about what's very significant about today. Today is November 9th. And 1 year ago, my life changed and my perspective changed. And for context to this, if you watched my episode, How I Spent My Birthday, right here, I was in the hospital. There's a whole episode. I'm not going to go into all the details through what happened that landed me in the hospital. There's a whole 40 some minute episode here on Boom Broadcasting that you guys can go back and watch. But that was what I was looking like in the hospital for my birthday. That was what I was looking like for the entire fall, uh, pretty much being on bed rest. And then this event happened. And you notice the date, Thursday, November 9th. It's always the second Thursday every other month. And this was the first time they ever did the Weight Room Revival over in Matthews, North Carolina, hosted by Lodi. And he's shared the story plenty of times of how this is an event put on by wrestlers, so there's no pun intended with this. But he really wrestled with God, and like he didn't really see, you know, the reason, or he really didn't see why, or maybe it would have been more on his plate. I'm sure Lodi can give more context to that story and all the thoughts he had to process. But it finally happened, and this was the first one. This was the Weight Room Revival, and a year ago to the date, um, is when I met Nikita, and Nikita prayed for me, and you can see me very teary eyed and in a lot of pain. And this was right after Nikita had prayed over me, prayed over my health, and prayed over the ulcer that had just completely turned my world upside down, and I'm glad Dad insisted on this picture, even though I don't look the greatest. I'm wearing my app shirt, which helps, and Nikita's in the picture, but I obviously was very teary eyed. But that picture led to this one, where I could meet Nikita again and tell him that I was healed. And that prayer that night at the Weight Room Revival a year ago today, to the date, changed the course of my life. And it did several different things for me. One of those is obviously getting my health back. It was getting my health back, which was absolutely unforeseen, unheard of. I went into very much detail on that ulcer episode. Um, it was tough. It was a really tough fall, and not to say 2024 hasn't been rough, but 2023 I was really going through it. I was really going through it. Um, so it restored my health. It also changed my perspective on God. I told you guys I'd be open about my faith, not in a shove Christianity down your throat kind of way, but it is a part of my story, and this is a huge part of it. I believe I don't get healed, especially in the way that I did, without the faith in the Lord. So it's made me read the Bible differently. Do I read the Bible every day? I would lie, and if I told you yes. I don't. Um, but it has me reading and comprehending when I do read or when I do listen to a sermon. It's having me comprehend things differently. You know, Jesus actually walked this earth, and Jesus actually healed people, and Jesus did that for me too, which is awesome. And I can stand there with Nikita, you know, several months later and be like, "Hey, I'm healed. I'm good." And getting a big hug, and he's like, "This is on me. Hold the title. You're the champion." Um, but this was awesome. This was an awesome day that I didn't see. I did not see a year ago. A year ago, November 9th, around this 1 o'clock hour, I was wrestling with the idea of going. Um, no pun intended. My dad was really persistent, and I just gave in. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be in pain here. I'm going to be in pain there. I'm going to be in pain in the car. Doesn't really matter. Sure. Like, whatever. And that tiny decision led to the tiny decision of, do you want to go meet Nikita afterward? Sure. Why not? Drove all the way here. Why not? And that led to one of the greatest things to ever happen to me. Because without getting healed, there is no boom broadcasting. There's no me sitting here. There's no all these other shows. There's no all the people I've met. There's so much that has happened in my life in the last year that I am very grateful for. Everything has a time, everything has a season, and last year I was going through it. I I got off out of pocket yesterday and was talking to Shannon and talking to Jason, and talking about some of the stuff that's going on in my life, and both were very encouraging. Jason, who I've only known maybe a couple months, very, very encouraging. And Shannon just had to remind me that if I could make it through the ulcer. If I could make it through last year, I can I can make it through anything. I can make it through this. I can make it through anything that's happening right now, anything that will happen in the future. And it's so cool. It's so cool that something that was so terrible last year, so bad, I can't I can't put into words how awful that was to live through. Set me up for where I'm at now and is giving me confidence that everything will be good and everything will be fine. That is what I'm seeing now when it comes to looking back literally a year later of the prayer, of the healing, and the faithfulness of God and all the people who rallied behind me then, all the people who are rallying behind me now. And it's looking like a monument of just remembering what God's done and what he'll continue to do and knowing that he isn't finished yet. God is not finished yet. And for that I'm very, very grateful. I was even thinking back to, the few weeks prior to the ulcer and going in the hospital for my birthday. And I remember looking at all these jobs. I remember applying to places in Texas, in Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Connecticut, on the coast here in the Carolinas. I applied I applied several different places, and either I didn't get a good feel of it, or I didn't even hear anything back, or I was more than qualified for a job, and for some reason they didn't interview me, or they didn't, think I was the person for the job. And I went through a whole episode of this series that, talked about that rejection and what it feels like. But it all directed me here, and it directed me to where I am now. And even if things are only for a season, it's helped me grow as a person. It's really helped me grow as a person. Um, because without the rejections, without the hospital and the healing that took place a year ago today, I wouldn't have landed in a place where I'm really happy. I wouldn't have gotten more time with family and friends and, getting plugged into the community, my local church, meeting different people. So I know the last time we met, I talked about the fear of the unknown. I talked about the fear of the unknown and how do you overcome that? Because there's still going to be unknowns. There's still going to be just doubts of, is it going to work out? There's going to be all the things that you just can't add up on paper and say this is going to work out or this is going to be okay or know how it ends. But I can look back to the faithfulness of the Lord. And I can look back at what's been overcome a year ago today. And it took Shannon last night, and it took other conversations over the last couple of days that have made me realize That's what you need. Sometimes you need the monuments to get you through the next hurdle and the next obstacle in your way. And you can't do that on your own. You need to be surrounded by people like Shannon, who he is for me, like Jason, like my best friend Caleb, like so many others who reached out then are reaching out now, and they're reminding me that God is still the same God who healed me last year. He's the same God a year ago today that healed me, and he's the same God today as there's new things in life that I have to overcome and are challenging. And it's another obstacle to hopefully one of the man behind the mic episodes, or a casual conversation over coffee or lunch that I'll get to share, and that I'll get to encourage someone else on their path and on their journey that may not get easier. Let's be real. May not get easier. But we know not necessarily the outcome, but we know who holds the outcome. And so that was a huge, brief umbrella to what's been going on for the man behind the mic. But most importantly, I want to encourage you guys, and this is why I had to do an episode today, November 9th, a year to the day after I received healing. I had to come on here and say, think back to those monuments. Think back to those things in your life you've overcome. Because honestly, if you are breathing, then you've overcome something. Maybe it wasn't an ulcer. Maybe it wasn't a hospitalization. Maybe it wasn't this extreme thing, but maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe it was someone left you. Maybe it was losing a job, losing a friend, losing a loved one. Maybe it was something to where you're like, I don't know how I can do my life any differently. But you made it through, and you're going to make it through this time. Believe that. Believe that. And if you need proof, November 9th for me, overcome. And a year later, I feel redeemed and restored in my health and several other aspects of my life. And I know God's going to provide. Well, that's about as much as my voice can take this episode. Again, this episode's not to promote anything on Boom, anything I do, but it's to be vulnerable and be open about what's going on, what's going on behind the mic. Because I have way too many shows now, way too many shows, and I I have lost my voice at this point in the week, so I might use a couple days throughout the week to pre-record some stuff to make sure we're getting this series out to you on Saturdays. But guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope this was an encouragement for you to look at the monuments and keep going. But guys, that will be it. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the content on Boom. The content creators, the whole team's doing great and has really helped me the last couple weeks. So I appreciate them. And guys, I'll catch you next week on the Man Behind the Mic. And this has been the Man Behind the Mic.